Welcome, everybody, to the Building Resilient podcast. So, this is a podcast where we deep dive with the voices that are shaping the world through their courage, through their leadership, and their unbreakable human spirit. I'm your host, Jose Pereira. I'm a resilient and leadership coach. I'm a former CEO. I'm a survivor. And today I'm an author too, and I'm a speaker. So that's how I got connected with with Wendy. We're going to talk about that. So this series that we're doing now is I decided to call Meet the Expert, because all the people that are going to be having my show are expert in their line of services. She is an expert, and we're going to talk what is her line of expertise. So we try to spotlight extraordinary individuals who are not only masters in what they do, but also are warriors of the soul. People who have turned adversity into purpose and pain into platform to healing and to impact. And we're going to hear from her because she's exactly what she does. So today I'm going to be honored to have welcome a lady. By the way, she's a Scottish living in Australia and living in a mountain about 500 meters tall. Let's talk a little bit about that later on. So she's a speaker coach, and she's the founder of Your Words Have a Power and the host of the Page to Stage podcast. By the way, that I had the honor to have been with her. So she's an international authority in speaker transformation. She has helped countless leaders, change makers, and survivors to share their story, to be themselves. Correct? To be themselves. Okay. So we met during a global summit and speaking. And as I said, I went to her podcast, and now I'm having her as my guest. Welcome, Wendy Corner, to the show. The mics are yours.
Thank you so much, Jose. It's been a real pleasure. What an honor to watch you blossoming over the last year. I mean, my goodness, so what a journey. Oh, fabulous, fabulous.
Well, you know, I I was talking today with somebody because when I began this was a couple of months after I came back that I decided to go to Washington to give thanks to the people that work to bring me back. And that I had the opportunity to connect to several foundations that work in this space, and I began to meet people. So this meeting became to be like, and today are formal meetings. They call the Hostage Awareness Week, and I came back 1 week ago, the third year that I was in that event. When I came back, I was like, what? Because the people were saying me, hey, I'm following you. Hey, you're doing this. And I said, hey, what is going on? You know, the people really. So I decided to do this like a calling, and I'm enjoying. And now doing this set with people like you that are part of my journey, for me is a true honor. So I want to begin this show because, as I said, this is try to pour your soul and tell your own story. So always I have thought she's from Scotland, but she lives in Australia.
But now I'm in Malaysia.
In Malaysia, correct. So what would you tell me your story? Tell us your story.
Oh, how many have we got? I mean, it's a long one. Okay. Cliff notes. I was born in England.
Okay.
And eventually we moved to Scotland because my husband was mentally unwell. Okay. So we went to live at quite a pace of life. I also, turns out, went home to my roots because my great grandma was from just down the road. So that felt great. I was there for 20 years. My husband passed away after 15 of those years. And so then it was a case of, well, what now? And I felt the lead to go to Australia. So I reinvented myself and went over to Australia, still as a speech pathologist. which was what my profession was.
Okay.
And then my face didn't fit, and I was released from that corporate job, and now faced with, oh, what happens now? Because the thing was that my visa, my permanent residency visa, was attached to that job.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't go and work for somebody else. Otherwise, immigration would have gone, oi, out. And I would have been deported.
Wow. Very similar what's happening today here in the US.
Yeah, so you know that one. So then I then did a coaching course online, and that started me off in the direction of entrepreneurship coaching. What sort of coaching? I was going for the business communication coaching, which is what my business coach was really pushing me towards, without honestly having a clue about business. So you know that thing about you do you? It just wasn't gelling. But I'd finally got there, had a one-day intensive where it was like a show and sell. And then I got 3 people lined up for onboarding the following week. Let me just put a date stamp on this, 7th of March, 2020.
Oh, wow.
See where
What a
we're
date.
going with
What
that.
a date. Oh, wow.
So yeah, no, the business did not happen.
Yeah.
So then we're doing okay, we've got to do this pivotal thing. I hated that word pivot. How many times did we hear it in 2020? Oh, pivot, pivot, pivot. My point was that I went online. Now, during this period, I had been headhunted as head speaker coach for TEDx, University of Western Australia.
Oh, wow.
That felt really good. So that when we were allowed out to play again, because we in Western Australia, in Perth, were very fortunate because we had very little contact with the rest of the world.
Wow.
I mean, the border between WA, that's Western Australia, not Washington, Western Australia and the rest of Australia, there's a 1/3, the left-hand side, 1/3 of Australia is WA, top to bottom. It's enormous. Wow. And with the exception of the top end, which is where a lot of the Aboriginal communities are, and they are particularly susceptible to ill health, different story. We had the choice. We could move around. We couldn't go out of state. So we were kind of within our state. We were locked in, but there was a very large part of Western Australia.
So you can move around during COVID. You can move it around.
Yes.
Yeah, because there was nothing there.
I mean, to put some context on this, audience, if you don't know the geography of Australia, Perth is on the extreme left-hand side.
Okay.
It takes 5 hours by plane to get to Sydney.
Well, it's very similar to Texas, by the way. Because
exactly.
Very similar to
we don't appreciate the size of a country unless or until we live there.
Yeah.
So there's a great big desert in the middle of Australia called the Nullarbor. Really beautifully named. If you've got any Latin behind you, you know that means no trees.
Wow.
Oh, how imaginative was that? There are no trees between pretty much just slightly east of Perth and way over to pretty much Sydney.
Wow.
So there's a very big desert in the way, which meant that we didn't get much in the way of infection. I think in 2020 we had, was it 12 deaths from COVID? It really was minimal.
Why? Why? Because it was so spread wide, or
because we didn't have the contact. Once that border was enforced,
of course,
there was no.
So you were kind of isolated.
Yes, we were. I mean, Perth is known as the second most isolated capital city in the world. I think Kathmandu beats us. I don't know, whichever one it is. But as I said, you have to go to Perth on purpose. It's a long way from anywhere.
Wow.
So we could. It meant that we could move within state, but we couldn't go out of state, and nobody could come in.
But it was good for you because you were using the mask, or you were without the mask?
Yes, we were supposed to be using masks, but I mean, not everybody did because not everybody needed to.
Yeah. So you had a good time. Well, I didn't know that. Not to know. Okay, so now you're in Australia. Now you begin to do this coaching. What made you begin to do that coaching in the speaking side? Why you create that page to stage? Well, tell me a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, I said earlier, you do you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The business communication wasn't to me. And so I thought, well, look, Wendy, what is your expertise? I'd been working with people to get their voice heard through my speech pathology.
Oh, yeah.
So why wasn't I pulling on that? I mean, as I said, the TEDx team realized my skills in that direction and went, oi, we want you. So that's when I went, well, okay, come on, think about this, Wendy. So I was working with speakers doing TEDx stuff. But I don't know if you're aware of this, Jose, that once somebody's done a TEDx, they put themselves up as a speaker coach to get
Yeah.
people ready for TEDx.
Yeah.
And you go, you've done one. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are, I still can work with you to get you ready for a TEDx, but I'm not going to advertise that because they're a tenner penny, to be honest. So then it's a case of, well, what am I going to do now? Well, okay, let's rewind to 22, the back end of 22. And a friend of mine said to me, Wendy, I've signed up to do a chapter in a book. I can't fulfill it. She took a mental health dive and it meant that she couldn't fulfill the contract. So she said, you do it. I don't want any money for it. I've paid it up. Just fulfill my contract, please. And I'm going,
Wow.
I'm not an author. Not an author. I can't do that. Hello, story in my head. This was somebody offering me on a plate an opportunity. So I went, okay. 20 minutes flat, I wrote out the story of finding my husband when he died. And that was just, it needed one minor tweak. That was a real serious download. And when I thought, oh, maybe this authoring thing is something I can do. So then, along with a couple of other colleagues, we curated an anthology book called Making a Difference, Ways to Magnify Abundance, Vitality, and Freedom. So there were three of us involved. There was the book coach, who was also the publisher. There was a marketing coach who showed us how the best thing to get these books out. And thirdly, I came in and said, look, let's take you from page to stage. Let's get you talking about your book. Only one of them took me up on the page to stage because they were all so intent on getting it written. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't stop there. That's the start of it. But that's where Page to Stage was born. So I thought, okay, let's focus in on getting those authors who've gone, I've poured my heart and soul into this book, but I don't ask me to talk about it. No, I can't possibly do that. Sounds like me with I'm not an author.
Yeah.
So we work on the internal scripts, those things we tell ourselves, and we take you onto stage, whatever stage that is for you and your audience. And that's where From Page to Stage was born.
Let me tell you, when I was with you, that kept me here, and I learned a lesson because I did it. That's how I had to date that from captivity to freedom. They come from my book, and I don't know how much time I have told the story, and I'm going now to college and talking to kids, and I invited to here, to invited to there. So I converted my story in my speech, and you were part of that. So I'm really, I had to recognize that you was the person that really made me understand that yeah, because you had your story. Why don't convert your story in your speech, because this is you. This is you.
Yes.
This is you. So yeah, it's very
Real, raw,
important
and
that.
authentic.
And tell me some particular story in the page to stage that has kept you like a blow your mind when you knew the story? One that came.
Well, for me, it's the resilience piece. I mean, the transformational stuff that people write about is absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah.
And if you haven't written your story, if you haven't written your book, get on with it. The point is, you have some wisdom that you have learned along your journey.
Yeah.
That somebody else who's a little bit further back than you
Yeah.
can appreciate, and you can lead them further forward.
Yeah.
The writing process is incredibly cathartic. I'm literally in the process of finishing off my first solo book.
Oh, you're doing it. Oh wow.
Yes. So it started off as one book, and it's now morphed into 5 in a series.
Okay.
So the first book we're aiming to publish on the 6th of June, which, as we're recording this,
it's gonna appear. So you have to talk about your book.
Well, exactly. And this is what you do. This is the thing I've been saying to authors: get onto podcasts, talk about your book, so that your audience of potential readers is expanded. And then, particularly if you're talking to an audience that is going to be your audience when they read your book. And the importance also of sharing it verbally is that when people read your words, they hear your voice in their head.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, how many audience, can I just talk to you for a second? Excuse me, Jose, just a quick word. If you are an Audible listener, does it make a difference to you if the narrator is the author? Because if they are a good storyteller and they literally tell a good story, doesn't it make so much of a difference? You feel their soul, their passion.
Oh, yeah.
Which, to the best of their ability, a narrator can't really do because they haven't lived it. Just a quick aside. Jose, when are you narrating your story?
You know, in my case, you're talking about, let me tell you something that I would like to tell my story more in Spanish. In Spanish. And, but for some reason that I don't know why, my audience keep being the English audience. But the moment that I had the opportunity to tell my story in Spanish, for me, it's something totally different because it's my original language. Yeah. And not only that, is that, I can express my feelings in a better way, So, yeah. But telling your story, sometimes my wife says, hey, you have told your story so much. Yes, but the audience begin to expand and the reach is going to come. You're going to be coming to audience that you will never expect to be talking. This morning, I did a podcast with a guy. No, this morning, no, yesterday. A guy from Pakistan, a pastor, in the middle of the war zone when India struck Pakistan. We did the podcast. And after that, I was telling him, how are you connected with me? Because I'm following you. The guy was following me. Can you imagine that?
Well, your story is so inspiring. And the resilience that you've shown through your 5 years of incarceration. I mean, I've just had another little shiver at the memory of what you were sharing with me. But you're right. Do audibly do your story in Spanish. Has your book been translated into Spanish?
It's gonna go out in a couple of weeks. My wife she didn't allow me to publish it. She's reading it careful. So she's proofreading the publisher.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So okay, I let her, I told her I'm gonna give you a couple of weeks. It's gonna be published maybe in 1 month, maybe in 1 month.
Oh,
And I'm gonna do the audible. I'm gonna do it in Spanish. Yeah.
do because I mean I was doing some research because I don't know whether you know, Jose, that I'm planning to move back to Mexico
Oh wow.
after I've launched this book. The first book is being published on the 6th of June, launched in July in Perth.
What is gonna be the name of the book? Or you don't
Well,
want to talk?
yeah, absolutely. The overarching series title is Letting Go, Living Lighter. Now, the
Okay.
first book, we've got two. The probably the main title is From Handbag to Hoarder. Sorry, From Hoarder to Handbag.
Okay.
Get it right. From Hoarder to Handbag: How I Chose My Life of 20 Kilos. For your American audience, that's 44 pounds, which is the weight limit I have on my case.
Wow.
That's all I have.
Wow.
And the contents of my case include posh gear for networking and professional purposes, leisure gear, active gear, the whole jolly lot. That's all I have. Anything that I buy, something has to go out.
Oh wow.
As an author, and yes, I do refer to myself as that now, the only physical books I have are 2 of the 3 international bestsellers I've been part of. I haven't got a copy of the 3rd one yet. And my Bible. That's the only books I carry. Everything else has to be on Kindle or Audible, for which I'm very grateful because I love language. You and I both joined. The reason I'm mentioning this, Jose, is because when I was doing some research, apart from Chinese, which basically covers a quarter of the world's population, Spanish is the 2nd most spoken language after English.
Oh.
So
I have never thought that way. So now I took note. I
you
took
have
note.
a very large audience and one that is not very well served. So please do make sure that you do your
Well, let me
Audible.
tell you, I had done 3 podcasts in Spanish. One I did it with the pastor of my church, and it went viral around 50,000 views. I did one with a guy that he's from Peru but lives in Italy. I have done 3 times, but this is the first time I do it in Spanish. It got almost 73,000 views. And I did another one that was not maybe 5,000. So the 3 have been viral. So you're right. It's reaching people that I don't know who they are. I don't know where they're.
That it's such an underserved population, and your story, and as I said, because it is your mother tongue, you can really infuse and enthuse your Spanish speaking audience with stuff that they don't normally get.
Wow, wow, wow. That was not intention of this podcast, but she's giving me the idea. That's great. Wendy, you have talked about something that I also believe that is that vulnerability is a superpower. Talk a little bit about that.
Resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Do you see what I'm wearing around my neck?
Yeah.
Pearls.
Pearls.
That for me is Mother Nature's symbol of resilience.
Oh, wow.
Because out of that little grit that got stuck in the shell, the oyster has produced something beautiful around it. You, sir, are the epitome of that, because out of your 5 years of you fill in the blank, you're creating something absolutely phenomenal on the back of that. This, I feel, is something that we all have the ability to do. Now, I've given you cliff notes of various things that have happened in my life. when you hear the full story, and we don't have time for that now. I mean, hey, I'm nearly 60. I've got a lot of life experience to pass on. It was those little gritty moments that you thought, well, what do I do with them? I'll share with you one quick example of when I was a teenager. I knew I wanted to do speech therapy, as it was called in those days, at university. I felt being led to go to London. There were 2 universities and what at the time was called a polytechnic that were doing speech therapy in London. I applied to the two universities because, I was such an intellectual snob. I wasn't going to go to a polytechnic. Come on. No. Internal script.
Yeah.
I didn't get any even invitations to an interview. Year one. In the UK, we did, and we still do, have 2-year what would be the year 11 and year 12 equivalent in Australia. I'm not sure what that equates to in the States.
Yeah.
So those are when you do the course to get you to your final public exam before you graduate. Not that we graduate.
Here that is called the SATs. Okay.
Yeah. Well, in Australia, in the UK, it's called A levels, advanced levels, and it's a 2-year program. So after my 2 years, you usually apply in the middle, at the end of the first year. I didn't get any interviews. I applied again at the end of my second year. I didn't get any interviews. Flat rejection. What am I going to do? I knew I was being led, got idea, to do speech therapy in London. So what the suggestion from my teachers was, add a science to your group of A levels that you're doing, because I'd done music, Latin, and religious studies. The Latin was really helpful, actually, because it enabled me to pick apart the language, which is what you do as a speech pathologist.
Yeah, because it's a root language.
Easy for me. Excuse me. So I added biology, and my teachers were absolutely wonderful. They timetabled me into 2 years worth of classes in 1 year. They were very good to me, very good to me. End of the 3rd year, and I'm still stuck with the no interviews. Oh, for goodness sake, what am I doing wrong? And one of the other girls who, I remember this very clearly, we were in the canteen looking through prospectuses, and this girl said to me, have you seen this place? And handed me a prospectus for the School for the Study of Disorders of Human Communication. How's that for a title? And she said, Wendy, I don't know how you do it. How do you? Now, forgive me, American audience, this means something different in the UK to you. How do you keep your pecker up? Meaning, how do you keep your head above the surface? Okay, pecker, beak, head above surface, not what the Americans think of that. Please don't hear that thought. I made an Afro-Caribbean podcaster blush when I said that. I went, "Ooh, I've said something wrong." Anyway, my response to that was, and how's this for a profundity at 18? He who perpetually lives under the surface will sooner or later drown. And I go, where did that come from? My point was, if you let things pull you down, you will drown. Yeah. I was determined to keep my head above the surface and keep paddling furiously. And that's basically been what I've done all my life. There have been circumstances which have tried to tug me down, and I've gone, treading water, like the duck, the swan, who looks elegant on the surface, but underneath is paddling furiously. Yeah. So that resilience muscle has had some pretty good workouts.
I'm going to say something, because talking about resilience and the vulnerability, sometimes the people think that if you're vulnerable, you're weak. And that's why people don't like to expose themselves, because they feel like they're weak. So how do you balance being authentic but at the same time being safe? So what is your recommendation to, when you're talking, you're coaching somebody that wants to begin to speak?
Absolutely. That vulnerability piece is really important. And I'll give you a quick example. One of my TEDx clients, we were actually literally getting out onto the red circle at dress rehearsal. Now, this is a lady who, she's a high court attorney. She can easily stand up in front of the high court in a really high powered situation. No problem at all. And she froze on the red circle.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
And she said, why am I doing this? I'm a professional voice user. I said, yes, you are. But you're normally standing up, delivering a very well prepared brief about somebody else.
Yes, not about you.
This is you bearing your soul to the world. That vulnerability piece is what really connects you with your audience.
Yes, yes.
Now, it is taking a risk. Absolutely, it's taking a risk. However, if you want to be seen as somebody who can help other people, you've got to show that you've been there.
Yeah. Yes.
How you describe it is really important, because I feel I have a duty of care to the people I work with, like the authors that have poured their heart and soul out into things, and they've written down their transformational story. It's been cathartic, it's been transformational, and they don't want to revisit that because some of it has been traumatic. And obviously, they don't want to tell it for re-traumatizing themselves. So I consider I have a duty of care to work with them to say, how can we language this? Almost from the observer's position. Again, if I can give you a quick example, I had an abandonment experience when I was 2. My earliest memory is of the double doors closing with me on one side and my mother on the other of a hospital, because she couldn't stay with me when I needed surgery on my finger. Back in the 60s, parents weren't allowed to stay with their children. Now, when I first started telling that, I was living it from the little 2-year-old. Now, when I describe that, I say, I wonder if you can imagine what it felt like to see these double doors closing and that little 2-year-old yelling and screaming for mummy and she didn't come.
Wow.
I'm still putting the emotion in it. I'm still inviting you into that scene, but I'm not reliving it. I'm not re-traumatizing myself. And I'm expressing it in a way that doesn't traumatize the audience either. Because you can get stuck in the miry mud of the, oh, it was awful. There I was.
No, you can make it so horrible that the people don't want to hear it.
Exactly. They don't want to get stuck in there with you.
No.
So this is where you language it from a perspective of the observer. Can you imagine? What would it have been like for you? Alternatively, you could say, what do you think it was like for my mother on the other side of those doors? If you're a parent, how would you have reacted hearing your little 2-year-old calling to you and you could not go to her?
Yeah.
What must that have done to eat away at her?
Yeah.
I would love to be able to have that conversation with her, but she's passed now.
Well, so it's therapeutic thinking in that, because sometimes those memories that, by the way, a few days ago, I have a therapist that I stay with her every week. I don't have no problem to tell that. That's part of my vulnerability, and we rediscovered the many events that now are beginning to appear, because the brain is something incredible. When you're going through a very traumatic situation, he intentionally hides those traumatic events, is to keep you safe. So when you begin to feel that you're okay, and the brain say, oh, now I'm okay, those things begin to pop up. And normally are things that are coming from your childhood. And I beginning to remember things that happened to me when I was 2, 3, 4 years. And I said, wow, I was not aware about that and how that
Yes.
event can affect in your life. So, but the good thing is that if you use it with a purpose, it can become something good because now you
Mm.
can help others. How that can be hidden you, you know. So
Do you know
it's
what?
something really incredible.
Do you know what? At that moment, I made the decision, back to those internal scripts again, that my voice didn't matter. Everybody else's did. Now, that memory, as you say, got buried. I didn't
Yeah.
remember that for another 50 plus years.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that particular script that my voice doesn't matter, everybody else's does. What did I do for a profession? Speech pathology.
And
I
no,
did
and helping others to make their
exactly,
words be their power.
exactly. So that's where that came from, without my knowledge. So these very early scripts that we make up can influence life's decisions for good or not so good, because the tagline on that, "My voice doesn't matter," meant that I was always helping other people to get out there, but I wasn't prepared to do the stage stuff myself. It's only recently, when I've been poked by a very astute coach, that said, "Wendy, you're still running that script. Can we flip that, please, to everybody's voice matters,
Of course.
including mine?"
So now,
And get yourself out there as well.
do you think that this is creating your legacy?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And what do you think? What will be your belief the day you're not longer here, that the people will say that was your legacy? What you would like to the people talk about you?
I think the thing for me is that absolutely your words have power.
Okay.
That what we say in here is so important. Because, sorry, audience, if you're listening to this audio only, I'm pointing to my head. If what goes on between your ears does not match your verbals, your words, your voice, your vocals, and your visuals, your
Mhm.
non-verbals will give you away. People will feel there's something inauthentic about you. So when I work with people to talk about what their story or whatever, we start with what they're telling themselves. Because if that doesn't get sorted, any of the delivery tips and tricks and delivery type things are going to be meaningless. Let's get you congruent, head and heart, because where does the energy pass through? Your voice.
Your voice. Wow. Wow. Very powerful. So what is the next for you? What is the future? What what is the next thing for Wendy? You were talking that you're moving to Mexico. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, the first thing is actually starting to get these books published. So the first one, as I said, comes out on the 6th of June. It will come out on the 6th of June. It will. I had intended to get all 5 of them out between June and September.
Wow, no kidding.
No, 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 not going to happen. So whilst there are 5 books, and if I can give you a quick skip of them, the first one is how I got to the 20 kilos. So I've given you the clue from the order to handbag that it was a journey. The second one is my adventures with 20 kilos. What's happened to me in the last 15, 16 months? Because that has been broadening my horizons, blowing my mind, being in different cultures, seeing different things, dot, dot, dot. Third book will be talking about the mental baggage that I've let go of, which I can tell you has weighed far more than 20 kilos.
Oh yeah.
Fourthly, and has given rise to my rewire process. So that's part of my work. That'll come out on that one. Fourthly, the spiritual side of things, being intentional about my relationship with God. Because when I first arrived in Malaysia, I had a mosque on one side, a mosque on the other, and a temple, Hindu temple in front of me. I'm an active Christian, I needed to step up and be more intentional in my relationship with God.
Oh, it's important. Yeah. Very
So
important.
that's where that one comes in. And the fifth book, which is likely to come out second, if that makes any sense at all, is around friendships. How have I, bumming around the world, developed and maintained relationships with friends as a solo traveler? Because here I am, almost 60, on my own, traveling the world, particularly in Asia. I'm a total anathema. People cannot understand. No husband, no children. Oh, oh, oh. And can you get me to Australia? No. My point is that one is definitely coming out on the 2nd of September. I get by with an awful lot of help from my friends. The reason it's coming out on the 2nd of September is that is my birthday. That's my 60th birthday.
Okay.
And I want to celebrate and acknowledge.
It's going to be a big book launching?
Oh, yes. Well, there'll be book launches on
you have to invite me.
Well, the 6th of June is the first one. So there will be big invitations going out to all of the people who've appeared on the podcast.
Oh, wow. Yay!
So that includes you. So we'll have a launch party. It will probably be on the 5th your time, to be fair. Okay. But it'll be the 6th in my time.
No problem.
So
what about Mexico? So where Mexico fits?
Yes.
Okay.
Where does Mexico fit in? Well, the majority of the people that I network with are sitting in the Americas. Oh, wow. Canada, America, Mexico, Central America. At the moment, I'm in Malaysia, which is on the same time zone as Australia. Mm-hmm. And let's just say that the other morning I was networking from 1 till 3 a.m. There's a limit to how much networking I can do at stupid o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going back to, because I had 4 months in Mexico the back end of last year. So I'm going back there to see for a little bit longer. I'm probably going to do a visa onto Guatemala. Got a friend whose family are from there. So I honestly, going back to the friendship thing, Jose, I could basically sofa surf my way up the States into Canada, across the Canada. Fabulous. Because such a big
that's great. When you come back to this area, Mexico or whatever, come here to the US. I mean Houston.
the US is a little bit of a tricky one at the moment.
Oh yeah.
We'll pass that one by for now.
Okay. Well, okay. But the invitation is open. Well, we're almost coming to the end. We have like 10 minutes. Let's do something. Let's talk about the Wendy as a person, a real person. What is something that you want to share? What is something that you, as part of your legacy, you would try to give to the new generations that people are coming? You talk about your faith slightly, how that faith is playing part in all this. Talk about you.
Well, the faith is a very important part of it, because this whole 20 kilos adventure is a faith journey.
Oh, yeah.
What happened was I'd been feeling unsettled for a while. Things weren't going well with the business, and I felt that God was going, time to move on. Next chapter. What did you have in mind? Well, when I first arrived in Australia, let's rewind for a minute. When I first arrived in Australia, I'm used to having at the beginning of the year, sitting down on the 1st of January going, okay, God, what's the theme for the year? That 2014, the question was, are you prepared to get out of your comfort zone? And I'm saying, like, moving to the other from the other side of the world was in my comfort zone. What did you have in mind? Not telling you. You're going to say yes? Oh, come on, give me a bit more. No. Are you going to say yes? Okay, we have these conversations, God and I, usually journal form, but we have these conversations. What I didn't realize was what was coming over the next 10 years, like change of profession, change of scenery in terms of where I was living. And then, as I said, fast forward 10 years, and I'm getting that sort of move on. 2 friends independently within the space of 3 weeks said to me, "What's keeping you in Perth? Why don't you go and live in Malaysia for a bit?" Both actually said, "Come and live in Malaysia." Both of them were in Malaysia at the time. Said, "You can maintain your international clients and the cost of living is a lot cheaper. Get a new culture, see the place." I mean, I've done the whole migration thing, not doing that, thank you. But when the second person said the same thing, I'm going, oh, hang on. This kind of is in a bit of a lurter, because these two don't know each other. So beginning of January 24, I did a 72-hour water fast, setting the intention, come on, Lord, I need some clarity on this whole Kuala Lumpur thing. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, generally nothing. Day 3, yes, off you go. You're going on the 29th of February and you're going to write a book about it, My Life with 20 Kilos. Do what?
Wow.
The reason I know this is a God idea and not a good idea, because I hate humidity. KL, Kuala Lumpur, is in the tropics.
It's a tropic, yeah.
Yep. Secondly, at the time I had a gluten issue. I can't take MSG or soy sauce, which means that all of the Malay food is out. So I would have to find somewhere to live that had a kitchen so that I could do my own cooking. Thirdly, I grew up and thrive in the countryside. KL, concrete jungle.
Oh, yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that God was punishing me. I'm saying that God was growing me.
Yeah.
So, oh boy, have I grown in the last 15 months. And this is literally a faith journey of obedience. I have no idea where I'm going, because people have said when I was leaving Mexico to come back to KL, I knew that I was in Malaysia to launch the first book, got that sorted, but I thought I was going to be here for the whole year. So before I was leaving Mexico, I had friends in Perth going, "When are you coming home?" I had friends in KL going, "When are you coming home?" I had people in Mexico going, "Oh, don't leave." I'm thinking, well, thank you, and not helpful. Where does that leave me? But what it has brought up, Jose, is that where is home? Home is in here. I am at home with me, which has been the biggest breakthrough. Well, basically, I'm at home in heaven and I'm just passing through. So when people say to me, well, where are you settling? Where and when are you settling? I don't know. And honestly, now, this year, I'm okay with that. Last year, I would have been, oh, got hydros. So I have grown phenomenally in a year.
Okay, coming to the end, we have 5 minutes to finish this. Talk about your business, talk about your thing that the audience you want to have, to know you about.
Sure. Well, I've kind of expanded a bit in that I'm working with entrepreneurs. Those busy entrepreneurs who've got a great idea and too busy to do anything with it. So I've set up this program called From Promise to Page, because they're promising themselves they're going to write a book. They've been promising other people they're going to write a book, but haven't done anything about it. So there is a 4-session, it was 4 weeks, but the beta testing group have said, can we do it every second week, to have a mixed accountability mastermind group to get something done. Okay. Now we have a setup call so that we all hear what the premise of everybody's book is, and we get to know their audience and their voice. It's capped at 4 people, intimate group, so we can then go, each week somebody brings forward something that they've written during the week. They read.
I lost your audio. Something happened.
Oh, did I freeze for a minute?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the idea is that they explain what they've been working on during the week, and then we give a mastermind a tweaky bit. Have you thought about doing this way? So that works from the promise to page. At the end of that 4 sessions, people can either carry on or they can leave it. There's no commitment apart from those 4 weeks, those 4 sessions. So that's the promise to page, but they've got some rungs on the ladder. They've got some momentum. Premise that we have an idea. It's too. I'm too busy. I've got too many other things on. Stories we tell ourselves. Let's get that from the promise. I'm going to write a book to get it on page. So this is where there's a small, intimate 4-group max group of people. It forms a mastermind accountability group, if you will, so that we have a setup call so that each individual says the premise of their book, who their audience is aimed at, so we get a feel for it. Then each week, everybody submits, they come with a piece of work done. They read it out, hello, page to stage, and we listen to it and go, okay, with that audience in mind, put yourself in the audience's place, not you personally. Have you thought about doing it this way? Maybe this would be a better way of describing it. And you give feedback to the very busy author. After the 4 sessions, we have a final call. If you want to carry on, you can, but there's no commitment. There's no hold on you. You've got to be here for 3 months. No. The whole point is it's aimed at busy entrepreneurs who get some momentum going on the book. Once the book is done, manuscript is complete, the business of actually publishing it with my business partner in the UK, we have a publishing company called...
So you go all the way until the people... Oh, wow.
Yes.
It's a great program.
So we go from the idea, the promise, to the page, publish it, and then I take them to the stages which are most appropriate for both them.
Wow, it's an incredible program. Wow. So you have to give me the links to that program?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you can opt in and out at any moment. It's not something that I'm going to say, you can only come on the page to stage if I've taken you from here. No, you come in at any space and anywhere along the line. You can get on the train, if you will, at any station.
Okay, well, okay, that's great. That's great. Well, let me do something. Give me all the contacts, and I'm gonna put it there. And well, we're coming to the end because this is gonna be a 55 minutes show. Wendy, was a pleasure having you here. And well, let's keep in touch. And final words, 1 minute final word to the people.
When you're not sure about how you can present yourself because you want to compare yourself with somebody else, no, you do you. There is only one you. You are absolutely unique. Please be you.
Thank you for sharing, Wendy. Wendy, was a wonderful program. I really enjoy it. As I told you that the first time I met you and I was with you, that concept of from page to stage really opened my mind, and I really give you many thanks because of that. So said this, we're coming to the end.
What if everything you knew about leadership was wrong? What if true leadership wasn't about power, but about service? The world is changing, and those who lead with impact and empathy are the ones reshaping the future. Welcome to Viral Podcast Experience, where influence is built on impact, and success is measured by the lives you transform. Today's world is in crisis. Leaders are disconnected, businesses are crumbling, employees are disengaged, traditional leadership models are failing, and people are looking for something different. Leaders who serve, not dictate. A leader who empowers, not controls. A leader who listens before they speak. But here's the truth. Leadership isn't about titles. It's about action. It's about the legacy you build through the lives you touch. Now imagine a world where leadership looks different, where a CEO doesn't command from the top, but inspires from within, where managers don't control, but empower and uplift. This is the era of actionable servant leadership, and it's transforming businesses, communities, and lives. Lead by listening. The best leaders ask, how can I serve you? Before giving orders, seek to understand. Serve first, succeed. Second, true leaders put people first. When you uplift your team, success naturally follows. Empower, don't control. Replace micromanagement with trust. Give people the tools and freedom to excel. Actionable servant leadership isn't a theory. It's a superpower that unlocks human potential. The world is looking for leaders who serve, lead, and inspire. Will you step up? Will you be the leader who changes the game? This is your moment. This is your call to lead differently, serve boldly, and transform lives.